Our big day in the shop today. So today I have this HP Tuners Core ECU. Now we're going to be installing this on the V8 MR2. So to do that, we'll be getting rid of the stock ECU and completely installing this, which should be plug and play. So we'll go over the product and let's get right into it. Okay, so at this point I have everything laid out on my bench that we're going to need. So we have the ECU itself. This is a pretty nice looking self-contained unit. Everything about this is plug and play. So you see all your inputs right here on the bottom, as well as this comes with 4 mounting tabs, also rubber mounted. Now the good thing about this is you can mount this inside of your vehicle or outside. It'll handle all the water and pressure and heat. So this can go anywhere on your build. Next up we have the wiring harness. This is a Gen 3 harness. HP Tuners offers currently 2 harnesses, so you can get the Gen 4 or Gen 3. In my case, I need the Gen 3, so this is everything that you're going to need right here. What makes this really remarkable is it comes with everything you need. So basically down to the actual fuse box itself. So inside the relay box, you have your fuse relay for the ignition, the fuel pump, as well as every different fuse that you need for the other systems of the ECU. Now this thing is nicely packaged, as well as it comes with provisions to mount it somewhere in your vehicle. So this is the mounting plate. Pretty much simple enough. 2 tabs, you slide the plate on and you can mount this where you need in your vehicle. So moving forward, I've already done the LS swap from the original stock ECU. This is only one thing that we have to deal with. Pretty simple stuff. It needs power, it needs ignition. We'll sort through this in a minute. This is no longer an OBD2 computer. It now runs off of this. This is their Ethernet connection, and when you open this up, it's a nice sealed compact device, and when you look inside of there, this is your Ethernet connection itself, so this is where you can do your tuning from. Moving on from there is this little tiny wire. This is called the HP T-Net. This is not supported yet, but this will be for future updates. So moving on with the harness itself, it does already come on with this rubber grommet, so you could choose to run this through your firewall and use this grommet where needed. All right, now moving over to the engine side of the harness. Again, this is pretty well self-explanatory. Everything is so well labeled on here. Coils bank 2. It has the proper plug to plug it right in. So there they are, 1, 2, 3, 4. So they're all in line with each other. Next up, we have crankshaft positioning sensor. Again, proper plug, simple enough. All right, moving along, we have camshaft positioning sensor. It has the proper plug. Additionally, this is our crankshaft positioning sensor, proper plug, and the vehicle speed sensor, proper GM plug. So this is all going to go on smoothly. And we have our mass airflow sensor, and on the other side, we have our coil bank 1. So you can see that over there, with all the responsible connections for that as well. So all of this should pretty much lay out on the engine perfectly, except for just this end. So this is a throttle position sensor and the throttle side of things. Now because I have flipped my intake, it is no longer on that side of the motor. It has come around, so I may need to extend these later. But in the meantime, we're just going to get this thing laid up on the motor and see what we need to do from there. So moving on, it is time to take the interior out of the V8 MR2. That'll access where I got my old ECU. We'll start getting all that wiring out, and then we can start our install on the HP Core ECU. All right, now that I've got some space in here, I can remove my access panel here and my top one, which will give me some access to get some of the wiring out of here. Now here's a look at my original fuse box I made. These are my relays, all the fuses. This was the old OBD2 system, and right here was my check engine light. So at this point, all of this can be removed, and right behind here I have my 4 bolts that holds in the original OEM computer. We'll get that out as long as the entire wiring harness attached to the engine. Okay, so all the old wiring is now out of the car, so it's time to lay in the new wiring harness. Now to make this just a little bit more easy for me, just to see how this thing is supposed to lay across the engine, is you look at these wiring harnesses and they're already labeled for bank 1 and bank 2 for the ignition coils, as well as the following leads are for the fuel injectors. Now that can go either way. So what I did was go right to the website, I verified their wiring diagram, and from there I was able to label each injector. So this one here being injector number 2, I know that one goes directly behind me on the left side of the engine, driver's side, and that will be cylinder number 2. So now I know which way this needs to lay, and we'll get that all laid out now. Now that I have the new wiring harness laid out on the motor, I am realizing it is now drive-by cable setup. So I have to do away with the drive-by wire setup I originally had, so now I have to reinstall the cable and the original gas pedal. So I went ahead and installed the gas pedal and the cable. The cable is now routed through up into the engine bay, exactly where I need it. I still have to connect it with a bracket, however. Now the next thing I went ahead and did was I installed the actual HP Tuners ECU in the original bracket that I made way back when. So now that this is ready to bolt in there, I'll be able to do the 5 plugs on the bottom. Actually it's 4, and then I'll get that mounted to the firewall. Alright, so I've gone ahead and I've mounted my ECU to the firewall just like it used to be. It is now wired to the wiring harness with all 4 connectors. I then moved forward and got the fuse pack installed on the shock tower. Now I originally had this lower in the car but realized I couldn't access the fuses. So this is where it's going to be mounted. Now moving forward, the last thing we need to figure out is these open leads, which we're going to connect to this weather pack connector. To make things simple, I am using these soldering sleeves for all the connections and then putting heat shrink tubing over all the joints. With all the connections made, I can feed it into the cabin with a rubber grommet. And now connecting the Ethernet port. And now with all the wiring through the firewall, I was able to make all the connections back to the chassis and tighten all the wiring up. Now back on the outside, I made all my connections to the engine and finally made my throttle cable work, which only took 3 renditions of this top throttle bracket, and then completely rebuilding the throttle pedal itself to handle the extra load. Now that all of that is sorted out, it's time to add my intake tube. And finally connect the mass airflow sensor. Now with all that worked out, we can turn our attention back to the ECU and we can give it its original setup through the laptop. So we just need to go over to hptuners.com, now select downloads, and now download VCM Live. All right, that was easy enough. So now that I have VCM Live downloaded to my laptop, we can now connect the Ethernet wire to the laptop itself, and then down to the actual ECU input on the car. So when you first open a program, you will see this no tune file loaded. So we're going to select the open load, and then you get this screen. Go over to tune in the top left corner and select Setup Wizard. From here, you can go through all the different sections and use the drop-down box to select what you're using for your particular engine. Now down and select Map Sensor Type. Make your appropriate selection. Now move down to select Mass Airflow Sensor Type. And now down one more, make your Coolant Temp Sensor selection. Now select your IAT type. Now you can go through and select your specific fuel injectors that you're running. Now I'm going to go ahead and skip the secondary fuel injectors because I don't have any, and move down and select your oil pressure sensor type. Now make your fuel pressure selection. After you've made all your selections, you will go down and select OK. This prompt screen will pop up and show you all of your selections you've made. And when you select yes, the program will load and push the file over to your ECU on the car. All right, so I just finished setting up through VCM Live. This thing was super easy to do, very straightforward. You just click through all the boxes, you tell it what sensors you have, what size motor that you're working with, and all the options your engine might have. So after I hit submit and pushed a stock file for the mapping program, this thing woke up and the fuel pump actually purged. So at this point, I'm just ready to start it up. here you can see as the engine is idling, you can see VCM Live is data logging all the necessary data. Ah, that sounds good. Okay, so that was pretty much it. I'm going to look at the mapping again and make sure everything looks good. And I think at this point I am ready to get this thing put back together enough with the seats and button up some of the wiring on here. And then I'll be back down the road to see my friend Brett over at Boost King Tuning. At that point, we'll run this thing all the way through the paces. I am so excited that after breaking this thing all down and just waiting for a little while to get everything wired up, it's finally back together. This thing was a breeze to just kind of program into for the basic tune. I am ready to hit the dyno again. So as always, thank you for watching. Hit that subscribe button and we'll see you on the dyno.